Ray Kroc and Henry Ford were pioneers of management. That Frederick Taylor had a stopwatch, and we got the phrase human resources from the idea of treating people like a machine. And if you've ever heard the phrase being jerked around or calling someone a jerk, it comes from the Henry Ford Model T plant, because you would watch the workers and they would be like dancing around like marionettes because there was someone like a stopwatch on every single motion. This is management. And management is super effective at a fast food restaurant or at any process that you need people to act like a machine. If you don't do it, no one's going to show up for their shift and your productivity may go down. Leadership says, I don't know the right way, but I might be able to build a community of people in a place where they find the right way. And so I can't tell people what to do at every step because I don't know. But if I get the right people in the room. So here's an example I love from the leadership category. And I'm talking about Google a lot today. I'm not sure why. So early on, Google was going to go out of business. And it wasn't from lack of revenue. It was because the internet was too big. And the computers they were using to index the web weren't fast enough to keep up. And so doing a search on Google went from taking a tenth of a second to seconds. And people just weren't sticking around. And two engineers worked overtime and figured out how to hack Dell hard drive controllers so that they put the data that was most needed near the outside of the spinning disk so that the hard drive could get there faster.
That's awesome. Didn't know that.
This is like the greatest hack of all time. And I promise you that Sergey and Larry did not think to tell them to do this.
Yeah.
Leadership says, let's get the right engineers in the room, give them the right resources and the right problems to go solve things with an incentive of status and affiliation for doing so. And now with AI doing most of the jobs where we can write down specifically what we need done, management is going to get less and less important. And leadership becomes more and more important, which is why strategy matters so much, because you want to tell people the strategy and let them find tactics. And so the fancy hotel that says to its frontline workers, the people who are changing the sheets and stuff, here's $250 per customer. You can spend it any way you want. If a customer is unhappy, give them free dinner, give them whatever you want. $250, we're never going to question you doing it. That lets your frontline have tactical control, but you're not changing the strategy, which is, this is a luxury hotel.
Yeah, there's a book I'll recommend to folks if they're interested. It's a very fast read. It's by Will Guidara, Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's a great example of how far you can push that.
Will lives this. He's a great guy, and so is his wife, Christina. And he understands that you don't manipulate people with hospitality, which is easy to try to do, but ultimately gets you in trouble. Instead, you serve them with hospitality. And you can see it break down at places like Madison Square Garden, when he has a temper tantrum and starts scanning the faces of people walking in and kicks lawyers and their kids out of the venue.
Wait, who are you talking about?
That's not hospitality.
Who's doing that?
The guy who owned Madison Square Garden. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
There were people who were challenging him in the outside world, and he just started acting like, the emperor. The point is, hospitality is a point of view. And it's a point of view that sits right next to leadership. So it doesn't mean you're giving away free candy all day long. What it means is we agree on where we are going. And then I trust you to help us get there.
Yeah, as far as storytelling also, or setting conditions such that your customers will tell stories, it's a fun book to listen to. And it was recommended to be by one of the top game designers in the world, who has nothing to do at face value with hospitality. But he was like, I'm halfway through this, you have to listen to it. And there's still stories that have stuck in my mind from that book. And for those who don't know, just very briefly, tells the story primarily of 11 Madison Park going from scrappy startup to one of the top, if not the top ranked restaurant in the world. And is a very fun listen to read.
Can we tell the hot dog story?
Oh, go for it.
Let's be clear. Anyone who goes to a clothing store is already wearing clothes.
Speak for yourself.
I didn't say they were nice clothes.
Yeah.
Anyone who goes to 11 Madison Park for dinner in the old days to spend $400 already has food in their house.
Yeah.
You're feeding people who already had lunch. You're not selling the food. Will was the front of house person, maitre d' and stuff, and he trained the staff relentlessly. One of the staff is serving a couple that's celebrating their 40th or 50th wedding anniversary. And there's like 14 courses. And during the third course, the waiter overhears the wife saying to the husband, "Do you remember our first date? Our first date in New York, it was right in that park, and you bought me a hot dog because that's all we had was 25 cents. You bought me a hot dog from a hot dog cart right there in Madison Square Park." So the waiter goes back to the kitchen, and somehow they get a New York City hot dog with the roll and substitute it out for the sixth course. And so instead of bringing them, clams, casino, whatever it is, on their plates, wrapped in the greasy paper, is a New York City hot dog. That's hospitality. It makes me cry every time I hear that story.